Thanks, Mr Speaker, or perhaps there should be no thanks to recent comments made by the Leader of the House. It is possible that Finland may now harbour hostile intentions towards this country. The Finn, may I remind honourable members, is a capable and noteworthy adversary with a long and proud military tradition and a history of victories over far larger and more powerful opponents. Finland is, as we have heard in recent days, a nation similar to ourselves in many regards. In terms of population, Mr Speaker, Finland is not very much larger than New Zealand. There are a little fewer than 5.5 million Finns. Unlike ourselves, however, Finland is well prepared for the eventualities of war. Finland's defence forces are incomparably larger and more powerful than New Zealand's. Finland's professional military numbers in excess of 35,000 personnel. That's 3 times greater than our own. In addition to this, Finland employs universal military training, giving them an active reserve of more than 350,000 trained soldiers. In comparison, our own already meagre territorial forces, numbering just 2,500, are currently faced with reduction from 3 battalions down to 2 and the loss of some 600 uniformed positions. It would appear that this government's continual cost-cutting and downsizing of New Zealand's military may be a very unwise oversight indeed, particularly if we are going to start picking fights with such powerfully armed nations as Finland. Finnish forces, it has to be remembered, defeated Napoleon's troops, and 5 times between 1918 and 1944 they beat the Soviets, before ejecting a superior force of Nazi Germans from the Lapland territory at the end of the Second World War. In the Winter War of 1944, Mr Speaker, the Finns proved themselves to be resourceful and cunning, using simple technology and advanced tactics to overcome the Soviet armoured divisions. Finnish soldiers would hide behind the trees as Russian tanks approached, leaping out at the last minute to halt the advance of the armour by jamming logs into their tracks and then dashing back into cover. Russian soldiers who ventured from the safety of their tanks to remove the logs would be shot, and the ones who stayed inside would freeze to death. Either way, the Finns claimed the victory and at the same time availed themselves of much captured Soviet armour with which to continue their fight. It would seem, Mr Speaker, that even before they invented the Nokia cell phone, the Finns had proved themselves a force to be reckoned with. I do hope that we do not all come to regret Mr Brownlee's declaration of cultural war against this potentially awesome opponent. The Finnish Navy, Mr Speaker, travelling through the Baltic Sea and around the Horn of Africa, could reach our shores within a matter of weeks. And without recourse to the Military Manoeuvres Act 1915, our own pitifully underfunded and under-resourced defence forces may find themselves woefully short of the preparation needed to meet the threat. Finland's Air Force, Mr Speaker, the pronunciation of the name of which, I'm afraid, from their native tongue to English is a feat which I find beyond me, includes more than 120 jet combat aircraft and trainer aircraft, including some 65 F-18s of the type flown also by the Royal Australian Air Force, and which caused such a show at the Haki Air Show in the weekend just gone. They're also used by the Canadians, the Swiss, and the United States Navy and Marine Corps. It is noteworthy, Mr Speaker, that with a population only 15% larger than our own, the Finns find this level of preparedness not only essential but also completely affordable. Perhaps they are doing something other than manufacturing cell phones, which we are not, in order to pay for it all. Mr Speaker, in the light of these recent developments and the threat which Finland may now pose to our safety and security, New Zealand First is unable to continue with support for this bill. We would urge the House to reconsider its passage and at the same time give serious regard to the level of funding and preparedness we provide to our own defence forces. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First is aware of the proud military tradition also provided by the Sikhs and the contribution they have made to the British Empire in 2 world wars. We would be terrified, Mr Speaker, with the prospect of a Finnish secret agent numbering among them.
Order.
Mr Speaker, New Zealand First is gravely concerned by this evolving situation, and we must oppose this bill. Thank you.